All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to ESV, Emotional Support Veterans. I am moderate to severe plaque psoriasis man, joined by my trusty sidekick Esima. And today we're here to warn you about the dangers of having skin. Oh, buddy, you want to take it from me?
This episode on ESV. All right, welcome everybody. This is a fun little project that we like to call Emotional Support Veterans. I am your host, Caleb. I'm here with my best friend,
Oh, I saw, dude. My name's Jamie.
Jamie. Old Jamie boy. And we're just here to have fun, really.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, this is a project that we've been talking about in the works for about a year now, right?
I didn't even think about that until you said it.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, it's been at least a year.
Been a year, and then we decided, fuck it. It's time to just stop saying it and do it.
Yeah, we also decided if we were gonna do it, we
Mhm.
wanted to do it right.
Yeah.
But,
So right now I'm hoping that the audio sounds good because it needs to. But we're here to have fun. We're here to make some laughs. That's all we want to do.
and yeah, one of the big overarching things we really wanted to do at this podcast was to kind of incorporate laughter, knowledge, and resources that veterans can use. Because a lot of the times the military is a climate, and when you leave that climate, especially humor can be kind of lost on you whenever you try to reacclimatize to the civilian world. And so this is kind of to let veterans know that they're not alone, and they kind of have an outlet to come listen to us be stupid in the same way that they were stupid while they were in.
Absolutely.
And
We wanted to make a community, or at least try to make a community to where you can wake up in the morning and not deal with that overwhelming feeling of just overthinking, trying to figure out what the next step is.
yeah,
And we wanted to make something where you can just turn it on in your car and just be around the type of humor and the laughter that you were once with. Because we both know when we first came out, that was kind of like the one thing that we were like overall missing.
it makes you feel like an outcast.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. So that's why we did this. So if you're listening to this, we appreciate you. We love you. You're not alone. And we hope you enjoy.
And yeah, with every episode too, we also want to kind of incorporate not just humor, but kind of some avenues to acquire knowledge about good resources that you can use, like the VA home loan or the GI Bill. Kind of shed some light on those concepts, because I know you hear about them when you're at boot camp, or you are told oh, just use your GI Bill, but the process of using the GI Bill or the VA home loan or your disability benefits, it's kind of shrouded in mystery. And so we're going to try and shed some light on how to do different things like that as well. But also, and I think just as important, honestly, is answering any questions that anyone thinking about joining any branch is curious about. Because I was in the Marines for almost 8 years. In a, I was first in a grunt unit, then I spent my last 4 years teaching, essentially. And um, I can give you answers about the Marine Corps without the red tape. And Caleb, you were
Yeah, I was 6 years active duty Air Force, and then I came out for about a year and a half, and then decided to go back in, and now I've spent 2 years in the National Guard as a traditional guardsman. So I've dipped my toes into all three worlds, pretty much active, civilian, and now guard. And I'll tell you right now, the dynamic between all three is definitely different. Like it's a different experience for sure.
yeah, I can imagine.
And one of our goals for this podcast is not only to make you laugh and hopefully, bring you out of the funk, because everyone gets some funk, whether you're working out or it's just the brain funk. We hate the funk. But we want to shed some light into those maybe listening who are still in service on maybe what to expect, or just the overall vibe, because you never know. Like when I first came out, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I thought I was just going to come home and everything was going to be hunky-dory.
Yeah, everything was gonna be back to normal.
Yeah, everything was just going to be exactly how not exactly how I left it, but
In a realm similar to that. At
around
least.
similar, yeah. But when you're away, you never think about like the things that have changed.
Yeah,
Friends
life still
having
goes on.
friends having kids, like things are different. So we're here to kind of help shed some light onto that, to give you our opinions, our voices on what we've experienced. Now, disclaimer: our experiences are not your experiences. You might have a different way of handling things, and that is okay. Please understand that everything that you hear coming out of this podcast, whether it be our jokes or our opinions, are just that. They're jokes and they're opinions
Based off of experience.
based off of experience, our experience. So please don't take it to heart. What we want is for you to take the knowledge and the things that we say, and we want it to jumpstart your brain just to help you start thinking.
And that's
Think.
that's within multiple branches and multiple MOSs
Yeah.
too. Because one of the most common questions I have seen when it comes to kids wanting to join the Marines
Mm-hmm.
is what's daily life like?
Yeah.
And
What is the life like?
if I was around grunts, I was around uh pogues, super pogues, air wing. I got to see a lot of the sides
Mhm.
of that the Marine Corps has to offer, but not all of them. And I think between the two of us, we definitely have a friend system that to where if someone wants to ask you what's it like being military police in the Air Force, I can't answer that.
Yeah.
But chances are you have a friend that can.
Yeah, I
So
have a
we'll
friend
reach
that
out.
can, but also like I could give you some information on that too, because like I said, I have plenty of friends who were security forces. Now I myself were not security forces. I'm gonna let that be known right now. I'm a wrench turner. I'm a knuckle dragger. I work on aircraft.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
Yeah, you're stupid.
Yeah, my background, like I am an aircraft mechanic. I have experience on 5 separate aircraft. I am not a security forces operator. But I have plenty of friends who have been security forces. And if there are questions that you want answered, I have a direct line to them to get those questions answered. So please, if you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out and ask us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love teaching. We love giving great advice, because in the world today, good advice is kind of hard to come around. We spent most of our end of our careers getting the next line
Yeah,
up and
teaching,
running.
essentially.
Yeah, teaching. Yeah.
And if we don't know, we're not gonna bullshit you.
Oh, no.
We will find someone that knows and try as best we can to answer
Yeah.
whatever question you might have.
We want to give you essentially what we want to do is we want to make sure that if you come here with questions, you are as prepared as we can get you prepared before you decide or before you even go.
And
You
there's a
know?
whole lot of red tape that you have to like navigate when actually talking to a recruiter. Like for
Mm-hmm.
instance, you want to know what the hell I didn't know when I joined the Marines
Hmm.
is when they give you a contract and they say like, "Hey, here's your contract. This is what you got." You can tell them no. I
I
did
didn't know you could tell them no.
I like when my recruiter, I love my recruiter. He did not screw me.
I
Like
didn't.
I
My
he was
recruiter
great.
screwed me.
But I did not know until 6 years in that you could say, "Hey, what's that? You got a Motor T contract for me?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Don't want it. Come back to me when you have a grunt
Hey,
contract for me."
there you
That
go.
that is not how that would happen, but you can say no.
Yeah.
Things like that, little intricacies that recruiters that they're not going to tell you.
I guess that would be our first advice. If you're thinking about joining, now I want this to be known that not all recruiters are terrible. Not all of them. There are some amazing recruiters out there. When I decided to come back into the guard, I had two amazing recruiters. Like the moment I told them that I wanted to come back in, they were like, "Yeah, let's get it
Let's
started."
do it.
They were on it, and one of them was a prior Marine.
How about that?
Yeah, a
Small
prior
world.
Marine, and he is probably one of the best recruiters I've ever interacted with. Now, my first recruiter, man, that was something. But my advice to you is that when you are deciding that you are wanting to join the military and you go talk to your recruiter, ask questions. Don't take anything they say for face value. Do your research. You have a job you're interested in, do your research into that job. And you want so since you said no, um what I didn't know is that there in some branches, um if they don't have a slot open for, well, I mean, I guess that's exactly what you said. Yeah. So I guess I did know that you could say no.
You could tell them to
Yeah.
kick rocks essentially.
Yeah, especially for you guys who are going for like special operations like schools. If you're wanting to go special operations and they don't have room for you, but they try and okay. Sorry, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. For those who are wanting to do special operations in every branch, because you may not have known, but every branch has a special operations core unit or core period. If you're going for special operations and you go into the recruiting office and they go and you say, "Hey, I want to sign up for this," and it's SF. If they look at you and say, "Sure, we can do that," but they try and they try and slide you and be like, I need you to sign this line right here." You go, you read that shit, read it. Because what could happen is that a lot of the times they may try and put you in another job, or you may be signing for another job just in case they can't find you a slot in those special forces units. Now, some special forces units have other prerequisites. That's why I'm saying do your research beforehand. But like for Air Force Special Forces, you know, you can tell them, no, I'm not going to sign anything until that's a special forces contract. Until you are 100% sure that you are going to go to selection. Because for I believe, and I'll do my research. I'll do more research, but I'm like, because I went for pararescue when I first signed up after
Right.
like during high school.
Yeah.
And pararescue is a special forces branch in the Air Force. I didn't know that I could just say no. I'm gonna wait until you have a selection contract for me, because before you go, you have to take your test. You have to do a what's called I think it's called the pass test, which is your run, swim, calisthenics, all that stuff. Before you even go to selection, you need to make sure you do that first before you sign anything. You can go into depth, but make sure you get that test done first. Prepare for that test. Please. You don't want to be the dude that's like, "Yeah, I want to go SF," and then you are not fit at all for it. Because I'm telling you from experience, when I was training for mine in depth, it sucked. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Damn.
And that was just getting prepared for it. So you need to make sure you are at the top of your game. And I will say that for anyone like wanting to do anything in the military, make sure you are at the top of your game before you make that decision.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, well, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this is episode 0,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this isn't necessarily indicative of what the tone is going to be like. We're essentially setting the stage,
Yep.
and we have a couple points, a couple talking points we'd like to get into today for episode 0.
Yep.
And but first, I think it's Brewski time.
I think it is time to crack one open. I've been sitting here looking at it, wondering where we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Yep. 1, 2, 3. Ooh.
Oh, the
Good sir.
here's to you, sir. Here's to you guys. All righty.
All right.
So, do you want to go into like background?
So you talked a little bit about what it was that you did,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'll give a very brief description on what I did, and then we'll go into the first kind of talking point. Okay, so yeah, I went into the Marines '06, which is communications, open contract, and
Brewski didn't agree with you for a
yeah,
second.
and I ended up becoming a field radio operator, and I didn't know anything about radios. I really wish I had looked into the different '06 or communications field
Mm-hmm.
before I joined,
Yeah.
because that would have told me at least a little bit about what to expect. Because what actually happened was, whew, let me tell you,
Different story.
that particular MOS within that particular field, I would have learned that that job can be attached to just about any
Anything.
unit.
Yeah.
And the luck of the draw, my very first unit was an infantry unit.
Hey, there you go.
And I did some time with the headquarters element, which is just pushing pencils and pushing papers. I did some time with the 81 millimeter mortar group. Bunch of degenerates, that group. Great guy. Like ton of great guys. I miss those guys a lot. And within that 81's platoon, I was also part of a trap team, tactical recovery of air personnel.
Hey, that's what's up. I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, it was
You
mi-
didn't
one of
tell
those
me
things.
that.
Well, I mean, you live and you learn.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it was. We would get sent out to do simulated recovery missions of like a down pilot, and I tell you what, those birds were hot. But after that, I kind of stepped away from the platoon level and went to the company level. And of that weapons company, I was the senior line radio operator. So the guys that were in the anti-armor platoons, the 81 millimeter mortar platoons, the sniper platoons, I was kind of those radio operators. I was kind of their dad, and I spoke to the master sergeant and the police sergeant. And after that, I went to an intelligence battalion where I was essentially a glorified teacher,
Mm.
but it had its rewards. But again, there was a ton of things that I wish I had known beforehand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Mine, for me, I was, like I said, I've been an aircraft mechanic since day one. Now, I did say that I had initially signed up for pararescue. And then when I was in depth, I trained for that and everything like that. But what I didn't know until like years down the line is that my eyesight, because I wear glasses. If you're going for any special forces unit, you can't wear glasses. So what I didn't know was that later years in my career, when I kept trying, I was gonna get LASIK, and so
It's cash money.
yeah, it's cash money. But I was gonna get my eyes corrected so that I could keep trying. At least I wanted to get there and try. Well, the doc said that something's going on with my eyes, and it was incorrectable. Otherwise, that or I have a 90% chance of going blind in one of my eyes. And so at that moment, I had to really juggle the option. Do I want to risk going blind for the rest of my life, or do I want to make what's left of my career as of right now? So I just chose to, let that dream die. And sometimes you got to do that. I
That's
let it,
morbid.
yeah, I let that dream go and continued my career as a maintainer. But going backwards, sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit. I signed up for pararescue. Some things happened with my recruiter. There was not great communication, and I did not get to do my initial test for selection.
Something we want to help you guys avoid.
Yeah, something that we definitely want. If you're going, be on top of your recruiters. And if there, you could probably agree with me on this one. If you're gonna join the military, the one major piece of advice that I can give you is learn how to be annoying, reasonable, but annoying, because annoy the shit out of your recruiters, because there are some dudes there that just don't have that fire in them. They're just there to do a job.
Yeah,
And you have to, sometimes you have to light a fire under their ass to get their shit together.
I mean, to be fair, being a recruiter sucks.
Yeah, I'm not like trying to knock on recruiters. I want that to be known. But every job has its cons. But if you're after it, you need to be after it. It's because sometimes they're juggling like 12 dudes or more, depending on how hot it is. And you got to make sure that not only are you on your shit, but they're on top of your shit. Let them know that you want it. But I digress. So I went to basic training, and I went in on a contract for airborne communications originally. And what airborne communications is it's multiple different platforms. At the time that I went, it was the AWACS aircraft, the J-Star aircraft, and the C-130 gunship aircraft. AWACS is literally just a giant airliner with a radar dish on top of it. You are essentially a radar plane. And your job on an AWAC is you're going up high altitude in a operating zone, and you're watching that radar, and you're communicating movement on the radar to your friendly pilots. You are literally the eyes and ears of the majority of the time in an AO for your pilots. So that's an important job. But I got assigned to the J-Star, which is it's another type of radar plane, but it's a type of radar that scans topography. So it'll scan the ground, and it's an amazing aircraft. If you want more information, just look it up. It's
Yeah,
sick.
we don't want to get too far into
Yeah, I don't want to run deep into it because I can.
Real quick, before I forget, we also have a third co-host.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
This
yeah.
is Sergeant Bones. And Sergeant Bones is going to tell you a little bit about his background. Yeah. Okay. Right.
How about you on fuck?
Okay, he's in the middle of talking.
On fuck yourself,
Caleb?
Marine. Jesus.
What are you doing?
Sorry, he's a little
Okay, cool. That's a little bit from Sergeant Bones. Okay, so are you ready to get into the first topic?
Well, I wasn't done talking about what I was doing, man.
What were you talking about?
I was talking about my career, sir. Anyways, I was
By
on the
all means.
J-Star, and then I was assigned to the J-Star unit. And then I had my final exam, and unfortunately, I failed out by 2 points.
Wow, trash.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Garbage.
That was a start of where my. Never mind. No, I got a retest, and then I failed it again. So
Wow,
unfortunately,
you failed twice.
shut up.
At least you're good at failing.
It happens. But they gave me two options: either be a cop or be a fuel systems technician. And I was like, I don't want to be a cop, so I'm gonna take fuels. And then from there, I got trained up in Wichita, Texas. And then I went to my duty station in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Oh, Kirtland Air Force Base, which, excuse me,
Yeah, you don't become a cop unless you only become military police.
if you want to
If
be a
you-
cop.
If you hate the branch that you're joining.
Yeah.
Like military police and the Marines, Marines who hate Marines are military police.
You know, it's
That's the
funny
adage you use.
because I feel like I'm not gonna say that our military police hated us, but it's one of those is like for us, it was like if you wanted to be a cop, but you wanted to join the military, you just became a cop in the Air Force. But
That
uh
was my original plan.
God, Jesus.
I'm glad it didn't happen, which is why I don't hate my recruiter.
Anyways, I digress. I got spun up. I was out there in a special operations wing. That was probably the coolest thing about my time out there was that I was a part of a special operations wing. Now
You were an operator?
shut up.
High speed?
Did I
Low
interrupt you?
jack? I'm sorry.
Damn. You see what I'm dealing with, bro? Shit.
It's your fault for becoming friends with a quirked up white
Get
boy.
yourself together, Marine. Fuck. Anyways. It was a training base, unfortunately, so I didn't get to do a lot of fun stuff, but it was cool because I got spun up and trained on 4 separate aircraft. Like to me, that's pretty dope. You know, I'm working on the C-130. Well, first it was a C-130 Hercules models, and then they were swapping out from the Hercules to the J models,
Right.
and then it was the CV-22 Ospreys, the H-1 Hueys, and the HH-60 Pavehawks, which is the Air Force equivalent to the Black Hawk of the Army. So, Black Hawk. What? Why'd you look at me like
Nothing.
that?
Black what now?
And then after that, when I went back in, I am now currently working on the F-16 fighter platform. So, well-rounded. But yeah, that's my background.
Yeah, you done running your nasty little suck?
I'm gonna stick bones on you, dog.
Okay.
You're gonna get
what,
boned.
What branch is Sergeant Bones in?
Sorry.
I did that the better one. Which means he's gonna listen to me and not you.
I'm sorry. Whose branch is it that every
Sergeant
other
Bones,
veteran
take him
decides
to the
that they
principal's office
wish
and have
they
him
went to?
circumcised immediately.
I don't see him moving.
Wow.
Anyways, moving on.
Insubordination.
Anyways, moving on.
Oh, are we drinking?
No, I'm sipping because I have to deal with your stupid ass for the next 45 minutes.
You don't have any other white friends, so.
That's a lie. That is a lie.
Okay, so since this is more of an introductory episode, essentially, and it's going to be significantly less chaotic and stupid than our future episodes.
Not as much.
We the first thing we kind of want to talk about is why we ended up joining, to see if maybe someone listening to this can find some parallels. So yeah, do you want to start, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I'll go. Mine was pretty simple. You know, I came from a family where for a long time, you know, I was living with a single mother. Unfortunately, you know, my parents split when I was at a young age. My father, me and him very well much in my life, so I don't want that to be misunderstood. My father is a great man. But lived in a single parent home for a while, and then, you know, I hated school. I hate school. I just want that to be known now. I'm not an academic person. I
Right.
just don't like it. I learn more by doing rather than reading a book. So during high school, you know, I did what I needed to do. I could have done more, but sometimes it just doesn't work out for most people. Like I said, I don't like school. And so, but my little brother was the academic in the family, but he was also the football player. You know, I was the nerd of the family.
Devin?
Yeah, this is Devin.
Okay.
So at some point in my junior year, you know, I joined ROTC, and
Wow, what a virgin.
you were also in ROTC.
Hey, shut up.
We went to the same high school, so please,
We did.
if I'm a virgin, he's definitely a virgin.
No,
Anyways,
I'm virgin prime. You stand at parade rest when you speak to me.
Ooh, boy.
That was my impression of the NCO that got promoted too soon.
Damn.
striking true, or
Are
what?
we going into it? Or I thought we were letting them just like slip in just a little bit before we gave them the roundabout.
My stupidity. Forgive me. Continue.
Anyways. The ultimate decision, or the ultimate thing that made me realize that the military was going to be my option was when I realized that my little brother, straight A student, football player, he had the chance for scholarships.
Right.
But if that didn't work, my mom and at the time, you know, my stepdad probably were not able to afford sending two sons to college.
Yeah, they weren't in a position for it.
And I didn't want to put them through that. And at the same time, I just graduated. I didn't graduate junior, you know what I mean? But when I ultimately made the choice was in my junior year. So I decided, I was like, you know, it's better for Devin because he was wanting to go to college. It was better for him to take that spot and I find my own way. And so, you know, I worked. The real kicker was I was working at McDonald's after we graduated and I was trying to make some money, try to figure out what, you know, ultimately what I wanted to do with my life. And then I had a really, 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 really shitty day at McDonald's. And no shit, after that day, I took off my shirt, gave it
hot.
Stop. My employee uniform.
Smash.
And handed it to the manager, and I was like, "Hey, look, you know, thanks for the
This ain't it.
This ain't it. Thanks for the opportunity, but I'm gone." And I walked my happy little ass down the street, across, and into the recruiter's office.
Damn, McDonald's is that bad?
McDonald's suck. Not bashing anyone that works at McDonald's, but that's just not. It's not for me. I knew I had a purpose in life, and my purpose was not working at McDonald's.
Rather run the risk of getting shot.
Yeah, I wanted to be more. You know, I wanted my life to mean something.
Right.
And so that was when I walked into the recruiting office and was like, "Yo, I want to join." And at first, I was actually going to join the Army. That's the fun fact. When I took my ASVAB in high school, I was actually wanting to be an Army combat medic. But, you know, talking to some of my family members who are Army and retired, and also Air Force and retired, they, you know, changed my mind and convinced me to do Air Force, which not a bad thing. I enjoy myself in the Air Force. I do. But yeah, that was the kicker. It was, I didn't know where I wanted to go, but I know I had drive.
Right.
And then that shitty day at fucking McDonald's was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I walked my ass to the recruiter and was like, "Yo, I want to join." And so, but it was really like I wanted to make a path for myself. You know, if my parents were going to put Devin through college, they couldn't do it for me either. And I wasn't going to force them to, nor feel like that's something that they had to do.
Yeah.
So that's why I joined. I wanted to find my own way.
Very well.
What about you?
Well, man, why did I join the Marine Corps? Well, it's my brothers and I, we were kind of slated like in the back pocket to all join the Air Force, or at least all join one branch.
Yeah.
But overlying circumstances that I won't get into now happened, and it led to me being the only one that kind of really still had it in mind. And it's like, well, if it's just gonna be me, I'm gonna do the hardest thing I can think of.
Yeah.
To prove to myself that I could do it. And let me tell you, when I signed that contract, my brain was, "You cannot do this. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. You are going to fail. You are going to fail."
Yeah.
But I got what I was looking for. I proved to myself that I could do it. I did it twice, kind of.
Yeah.
Like 2 freaking enlistments, bro. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't think I'd actually go back. And
No?
then out coming out
I didn't think I'd re-enlist.
coming out for like a year and a half and saw how discombobulated the civilian world was. I was like, I gotta go back.
Yeah.
I gotta go back. This shit doesn't make sense.
I had had a talking point that I had just come up with. I can't remember what it was. Fuck. I forgot what it was. It was so good.
It
Oh,
was
I
so
remember what it
good.
was. Okay, so now that we kind of know why I joined, why
Mhm.
you joined,
Mhm.
here's what I want to ask you.
Oh,
What kind of boot were you in boot camp? Were you the one
oh, sweet
that kept to the
Jesus!
sidelines
You're gonna
and
make
watched
me be
other
honest.
people get fucked up?
Oh my
Were you the
God.
one that got fucked up? Or were you the one that like was a
Oh
joker? Did you
no.
steal fruit from the chow hall? I can tell you exactly what I was. I remember
I can tell you what kind of boot I was, and and this is pure
in boot
honesty.
camp.
I was the oh God.
You were the shit bag, weren't
No,
you?
I was the
You were the fat,
no,
nasty one.
no. I was the cringe lord boot.
Oh my!
Yeah.
You're talking to a
No, no,
future,
no, no, no,
a
not
future
that, not
U.S.
that
airman.
cringe. Fuck that. I at least had some humility. But it was the the try too hard boot for himself, really. Like, so I was an element leader, right? Because I was one of the tallest out of the 4 fucking dudes
Right.
in the flight. Um, but like when it came to like doing things like drill or training or anything like that, I was that guy that was like that literally believed in the be all you can be kind of quote, and I probably took it too fucking far. Like,
How do you take drill too far?
dog, you can.
Do you squeal at people who mess it up?
No, so when you're doing in basic training, when you're doing for Air Force, when you're doing your when you're learning drill, when you're learning to march and formation and things like that, there is a can't remember what it's called, but it's a type of drill where it's an inspection. So you come out in formation, you spread out, and then the drill sergeants come out and check your uniform.
Right.
And then if you're fucked up, they'll tell you you're fucked up, you know? And so every time for Air Force, when the drill instructor would get to your element, as the element leader, it is your job to call the flight to attention from parade rest. Boy, I remember the first time I did that shit, and there's a way to overdo it. You wouldn't think there's a way to overdo it in the military. There's a way to overdo it.
There is a way to do it to where everyone watching is making fun of you.
And I overdid it. I overdid it because I was just that gun ho. And there's nothing wrong with being dedicated and driven. But you can make yourself look like an idiot. So you need to be like humble and like aware of your surroundings.
That actually takes me into a segue, like a 30-second segue. I would like, and I'm doing this on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
It's not quite improvisation. It's an idea I didn't tell you about that I'm going to do.
Oh.
And I'm going to do it because it'll add to your story.
If this happens more than often, I'm just going to start calling these ambushes. Go ahead.
I like that. I like that. So to solidify Caleb's story, I'm sorry I did not mention this to you. I would also like to incorporate a military slang of the day.
Ooh.
And for this particular session, I'm going to tell you guys what a boot is.
Hey.
Now, from what I understand, the definition of a boot is the same amongst all branches. It is, but it has kind of multiple definitions that all remain the same.
Not to interrupt. So when you say boot, but there are boots are like boot is a term across all branches, but there are some times where there are different names for them. So like, and I don't know why. I don't know why this is. New boots in Air Force Basic were called rainbows. I don't know why we're called rainbows. And the more I think about it, I'm like, why the fuck were we called rainbows? But continue.
Yeah. So in Marine Corps boot camp, you're in basic training, you're just called recruits.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Cross the line.
Yeah.
And typically a boot, at least in the Marine Corps, is a new Marine who is like, as soon as they graduate boot camp, they're high and mighty. They think that they're hot shit. They like post like one of the most classic like
Oh,
things that they
are they
talk
the
about.
the sheepdog type?
They're that, yes, and they're also yeah, I just graduated boot camp while you're partying every night and enjoying college. Like
Oh,
I'm out here doing something with my life. Those cringe lords.
the high horse riders.
Yes, and boots do boot shit. Like they join the military. They walk around everywhere with a backpack.
They marry strippers.
They buy Mustangs at 28% APR. That
Ooh,
is those are Buddhisms. And being a boot is sure it's being a new Marine or I'm guessing a new airman, but it's also a mindset, you know? Like if you're constantly going around like going over the top with your whole Marine concept
Yeah.
just to be a jerk,
Yeah.
just to if you're doing it to outdo others and not to raise your brothers up,
if
you're
you're
a fucking boot.
if you're doing it to make yourself feel good, stop. Please, like, just stop. Because if you're one of these people that are currently in, because we're hoping we reach all different spectrums of this. If
Right.
you're one of these people and you have caught yourself doing this, we want you to know right now, you're being a fucking idiot. Stop it. Learn. Be better. Unfuck yourself. We don't know how to say this any clearer because you're not helping anyone. You're not even helping yourself, honestly. So stop it.
There's motivation for like, there's good motivation. You know, you've heard the phrase, false motivation is better than no motivation.
Yeah.
But motivation should be something you exhibit to help your brothers whenever things just suck.
Yeah.
It should not be used to make yourself stand out to look better for the sake of you wanting to feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's selfish. That is a boot.
Yep.
And so I that is our military slang for the day. You don't want to be a boot. We'll go more into Buddhisms later.
Well, since you brought that up, since you ambushed me with something,
Oh.
I just thought of something off the top of my head, and it's called Advice of the Day. Advice of the Day. And listen to me right now before you go in. After you complete basic training, I'm telling you right now, because for some reason, there are those out there that just think
I think I know what you're going to say.
that this is okay. After you complete basic training and you get to your first base, do not, and I repeat, do not buy the brand new fucking year Camaro or Mustang or any other fucking hard charging car, because I'm going to tell you what your life is about to be right now. You're eating ramen noodles for the rest of your fucking life until you make staff. Stop doing it. I don't know why.
That
is a
it
thing.
Is a thing in the Marines too.
It is it's across all branches.
Well, it's because, you know, these young 18, 19-year-old children
Yeah.
are joining. They've never had money. And so they
Perfect point.
join and like suddenly they've come into money and you have these
Yep.
slimy, nasty little
Salesman.
car salesmen
Yeah.
that like know like, oh, well, I'll take he
The-
doesn't know any better.
The first thing you're going to realize is that when you go, when you get to your first base, I want you to explore the city, and then count how many car dealerships are within a mile
It's bad.
of your base.
It's really bad.
It's there for a reason. Don't fall for the trap. That 5 or however many G's you're going to have in your pocket after you complete basic training.
You got 5?
No. Well, depends, because you're going to spend money in basic training. You
Right.
are. But you're going to generate money when you're in basic training that you're not going to see until after you get out. And you're going to be very, very tempted to spend it. Don't buy the brand new car.
Don't.
Please.
Don't.
I have seen so many people suffer right off the rip because they bought that brand new car and then they can't get rid of it. They're stuck with it. So please, whatever you do, if you want to, you could tell me to say, screw you, I'm going to do what I want to do. Cool.
We're gonna
I
make
tried.
fun of you, though.
I tried, but then you're going to know that we were right. And that's all that matters to us.
What? No,
I'm
it's not.
kidding. I'm kidding. It's not.
Anyway,
But yeah, moving
I-
on.
That okay. I like that. So we have like I'm glad we're getting these kinks out
Yeah.
in episode 0.
Absolutely. This is what
we
episode
got-
0 is for.
We got military slang of the day and we got advice of the day. And don't let me forget, we also have veteran and active duty resource of the day.
Yes.
That's the one that I did tell you about.
Yeah. That's that one
Yeah.
I'm excited for.
So to lean back into it, remind us what kind of boot you were. Or,
I was
what
cringe.
kind of rainbow you were.
Oh my god, I was cringe, dude. I honestly, in my opinion, I was a cringe lord.
Yeah.
I was cringe AF, dog.
It sounds like you were just a tryhard.
Try hard. Well, a try hard. Me being a try hard is cringe for me because I don't want to be that guy that just looks stupid because he's trying too hard without listening.
Right.
I guess. But I was dedicated. That was my thing. Is like I was overly dedicated. I knew what I wanted. I knew where I wanted to be, but I wanted to be the best that I could be. The problem is I went about that in sometimes the wrong ways. One of my most cringiest moments, I believe, is then during that inspection that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
So as an element leader, when the drill sergeant finishes the element in front of yours, he'll finish at the end, come down, and he'll march down to you and start at you, and then go back down the line and then repeat until he completes all 4 elements, right? So when you see or when you notice that the drill sergeant is finishing the previous element's inspection, you're supposed to call your element to attention. I called my element to attention.
Oh boy, what did you do?
Oh boy. So this was one of those where the be all you can be came out just a little too strong. So when I noticed at the corner of my eye the drill sergeant coming back down, instead of going 3rd element tangent like normal, I screamed the fuck out of it for no fucking reason.
I'm sure it made your drill instructors happy.
I don't know. They never really said anything about it, but at the end of it, the rest of my flatmates were like laughing at it. Like they were like making fun of me for it because they were like, "Why the fuck did you scream that loud?" Because
so
like
weird,
right?
Because in the Marine Corps, if you didn't scream, you were gonna get messed up.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That's the level that I expected it to be at, and you had to be loud. Don't get me wrong, you had to speak up at Air Force BMT. Air Force BMT though is definitely different than Marine Corps.
Oh,
There is no getting shark attacked. I mean, it happened, but it didn't happen as often as Marine Corps, I bet. And then one of the other cringiest moment, I'm a passionate person. If I'm in it, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it.
right.
And at the time being, we weren't doing so hot on dorm inspections. And you know, I'm this young 18-year-old right out of high school trying to be his best, but I'm getting frustrated because I can't figure out why we weren't passing our dorm inspections. To the point to where they came to our flight and was like, "You guys are sucking so much, we're thinking about actually like
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, sending your entire flight back to day 0."
Oh my god.
And
Can
we
they
were
do
at
that?
yeah, they can. And at
That
this point,
sounds horrifying.
at this point, we were already like 3 weeks in out of an 8-week process.
Man, y'all were that shit, huh?
Well, yes and no. Because a lot of it wasn't, well, a good portion of it was not on us. And we can go into that at a later date. But there was a moment where we had our inspections, or we were getting ready for an inspection. And so we had a day of cleaning the barracks. And the day of the inspection, they surprised us, I believe. We were getting ready for the inspection for the next day, but they came at the end of the day.
Right.
They let us know at the very last minute, like, "Hey, inspectors are coming in.
Good luck.
Good luck." Right? And so, well, they didn't say it like that. They weren't as friendly. But we had, the way we set it up, And this is good because you're going to learn about like some aspects about BMT. Part of BMT is learning where your people's strengths are and where their weaknesses are. So we had a solid team split. We had teams split up all around the barracks. One team did this, another team did this, another team did this, so on and so forth. We had a crack team cleaning the bathroom. They cleaned that bitch spotless. And we did the inspection, and so the inspector comes out and tells us we fucking failed.
Wow. Okay.
And then we're trying to figure out why the fuck did we fail? Because we were on our shit that day. Like, we were motivated because we were pissed off. And they come in, and it was like within, I think, like the first 5 minutes of the inspection, we failed. They just walked out. We didn't learn until about 15 minutes after, I think. Our drill sergeant comes in and tells us that one of the toilet seats had piss on it. Yeah.
Get you every time.
Dog. When I tell you, I was livid because a lot of the parts about me that I should have learned. I also had a temper back then. And so I come from a household where you clean. On Sundays, you fucking cleaned. If you pissed on the toilet, you wipe that shit. You put the toilet seat down, so on and so forth. Right?
Right.
And so when they told me that someone had pissed on the toilet seat and didn't clean it, I lost it. And I went through the entire barracks just yelling at the top of my lungs. Like, we're all choosing to grow up at this point. I said something on the lines of, we're all choosing to be adults now, grown ass men about to join the military, and we can't wipe piss off the fucking seat. Said that in basic training. If you don't know, you're not supposed to cuss in basic training. You just don't.
You weren't supposed to curse?
You can't
At
cuss.
Air Force?
In Air Force basic training, you cannot cuss. As a trainee, you cannot cuss.
I don't know if there were any rules about that. The Marines, we still did it.
In the Marines, it might be different. For Air Force basic training, actually, it's actually in a book. You cannot cuss.
Wow.
Yeah, kid you not. And so now, granted, where most people would think you get smoked for that, I did not. After I went on my rampage, which, granted, me and the dorm chief were boys at this time. So he
Right.
pulled me aside, and I looked at him. I was like, I'm sorry, dude. I lost it. And he's like, no, I'm pissed off too. Like, we had a talk, right? The dorm chief is another trainee who gets assigned to be a dorm chief. If you're that unlucky motherfucker, good luck.
Have fun.
Because it's not going to be fun for you. But afterwards, after my rampage, I didn't know that the drill sergeants had came back into the dorm during my rampage.
Nice.
It was a scary moment because one of my drill sergeants coming around and he's like, what are, I'm not going to say my last name, but he calls me by my last name. He's like, my office now. And I'm like, fuck. It's like, damn. It's like I fucked up. And I looked at my dorm chief. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. He's like, I'm pissed off too, bro. Just take it. Just take it. And I'm like, I'll take it. So I go in there and I'm expecting to get smoked, right?
Right.
But the drill sergeant closes the door behind us and he sits in his chair and he's like, listen, dude. And he called me dude. I was like, huh? Like, I didn't move because I'm out of tension.
Right.
But he's like, listen, I get it. He's like, I'm pissed off too. He's like, and I know you guys have been trying and I can see where the frustration's coming from. And he was like, do me a big fucking favor though. And I was like, sir, trainee reports is ordered. What is that? And he was like, stop fucking cussing. He's like, don't do that shit
He
again.
said it just like that?
Yeah, you did.
Imagine that.
He was like, stop. He's like, because that's just going to reflect bad on us and we don't need that. And I'm like, yes, sir.
Man, y'all got policed on your curse words?
Yeah, dog. Yeah, dog. Because it's actually in the handbook. Like in the Air Force handbook. When you make certain rank, you're technically not, when you're in active duty, you're technically not supposed to cuss at other airmen.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm sure
No
it's a
one-
rule for the Marines as well, but no one follows that.
And I want this to be known. I say this with the utmost respect. No one cares about that. We cuss each other out on a daily basis.
That's military culture.
That is military culture.
Cursing is a love language in of itself.
Especially if you're a fucking mechanic. If there are two like central groups of every branch that I know that cuss like a fucking sailor, those are the mechanics and the grunts. No one cares otherwise. You're good. So, but yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, those were my cringy moments.
I didn't have a whole lot of cringy moments, but Marine Corps recruit training is
It's wild.
it sucks.
It's wild.
I'll tell you to give you an idea as to what the climate was like. I'll regale you with a little story and let you know what kind of recruit I was.
Before you continue, do you know what time it is?
Oh my, please don't.
Do you know what time it is?
No,
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to hydrate. Please grab your water. It is that time of the day where we take care of ourselves and we suck down some high quality H2O.
Don't say suck.
Suck it down.
Okay, so for those of you who still have eardrums, do us both a favor. Stop what you're doing right now. Find a water receptacle and hydrate a little bit because will you relax? You have probably had a long day. You're like doing this, that, and the other, but take care of yourself.
It's
please.
hot. It's the middle of summer, dog.
Yeah.
Well, at
Make
this
sure
point,
you're drinking water because you are worth it.
yeah, you are worth it. Hydrate or
Don't say
dihydrate.
it. Oh my. I'm going to commit honorable Ford Subaru right here, right now.
Please continue.
Okay. So, to give you an idea as to what the climate was like in Marine Corps recruit training, there was one day where there was a very respectable recruit who was...
That was me.
There was a very respectable recruit who was pretty darn good at everything, really. And one day, we were marching in formation to go to the chow hall, as one do. And this kid, he's marching. He's doing his little marching thing, driving the heels like the rest of us do.
Oh, wait.
And
I'm not going to interrupt you, but I have something to say on that.
he says, or one of our drill instructors is like, I'm not going to say his name. He's like blank. I could say his last name. His last name was Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Snyder, drive your heels. And I don't know what was going through Snyder's mind at the time. Because he was a good recruit, probably made an even better Marine. Kid was awesome. And this kid, without missing a beat, just goes, I am, to a Marine Corps drill instructor.
Oh, bro. Ooh.
And
I think I remember telling me the story.
You hear a collective amongst the entire platoon as we're driving our heels, and we know that the brutal truth has hit us like a bag of fermented dicks.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what that sound is, that is the sound of panic
And
misery.
really the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
Because everyone did like a and Snyder was about two rows behind me, and the last one, he was on the outer left column, and I saw out of my peripheral vision, one of the drill instructors grabbed him like a wolf would grab a rabbit and yanked him out, and I distinctly remember hearing it was so quick, like he had been ripped from his life.
God.
Like his soul had been snatched from his corporeal, like,
Well, it was.
and we just, I don't know what anyone else heard, but I heard what sounded suspiciously like a pig squealing in pain. I didn't see what happened, and I'll die never knowing what happened. But I remember hearing him screaming for his life because you see, Staff Sergeant Ansley was a combat veteran, and Staff Sergeant Ansley was scary. He was terrifying, and he just ripped him out of the platoon, and just he had his way with him, and it was that level of the most minor infraction could result in you seeing God, going to God, same day shipping, like, like, and Snyder never messed up again, but it was that level of you do one little thing wrong, you get so messed up. And so I say all of that to say I was the recruit that did everything in my power to avoid getting yoked up,
But that's the
to
point.
avoid getting smoke checked.
But that is the point.
I was so good at, I didn't get recognized until one of my drill instructors realized how ugly I was. And I will tell that is a beautiful, amazing story that I will tell on a different episode. But I went through 3/4 of Marine Corps recruit training without being noticed because I was like the guy in the corner, like in the shadows, like, oh, better you than me.
Yeah.
Like, I did not go out of my way to like screw anyone else over. I will say that. But I made sure I dotted my I's and crossed my T's. I was very quiet. Or I say quiet. We all had to scream out your freaking mouth. We all had to scream at the top of our lungs. But
Yeah.
I didn't get in trouble because I made sure I was squared away. And
Oh, dude.
albeit that lasted, like, if memory serves, Marine Corps recruit training is 13 weeks. I lasted till like week 9 or 10
Nice.
without getting noticed. And the way I got noticed was absolutely hysterical. But that is
you told me that story, and I still laugh at
that
it.
is still the tale of how I got noticed in basic training is still one of my favorite military stories.
Yeah.
But I'll save that for another time.
And we're not saying these things to scare you away from it, but you need to go into a realization that basic training is not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy at all. You're going to go through some of the hardest training, depending on where you go, that you've ever experienced. And that is the point. It's to make you better. It's to make you into an individual that can think not only in a team, but as an individual, because, you never know what you're going to experience when you go active, especially if you're going to be in combat. Like you got to know how to work under stress. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but bullets flying over your head ain't, unicorn farts and rainbows. It's not fun. It's not a fun time. It's very stressful. You've got to be able to think. But I digress.
So, before we get into our next talking point, if you're not already at work, by the way, like if you've been listening to this on your drive to work, you have got to find a shorter commute.
Dude, yeah.
But anyway, I don't know why I'm complaining about that particularly. But let's take a quick break and do another thing that we kind of mentioned earlier. It is the veteran and active duty resource that you can use. And today, I would like to tell you guys about the VA home loan. Now, it changes a lot. I don't quite remember how long you have to be in before you could take advantage of it. But let's say you do your 4 years, right?
I believe it's 3 years.
I don't want to say anything set in stone.
Yeah, don't take that as set in stone. We'll do our research and we'll make sure we give you the right answer if everybody wants to know. But I believe it's 3 years.
Yeah. So the way the VA home loan works is you are granted a home loan with no down payment and a fixed interest rate.
Yeah. That's
that
the big point.
I believe cannot be changed unless you like willingly refinance. Don't quote me on that, but I didn't know about the VA home loan until I was 4 years in,
Yeah.
and I was mad about it because what you could do, young ladies and gentlemen, if you're smart about it, let's say you're 19 years old, you join the Air Force or the Marines, and you fall in love and you get married. What you can do with that is you can, in some cases, use the VA home loan to get a head start on the house you want to buy. And there's no down payment, and it's at a fixed rate, and you have guaranteed income. And so you could already get really, really ahead on your payments for this house. It really is something I wish I had taken advantage of as a younger Marine.
Same. Yeah, same. Same.
Because I know guys, I served with a great friend of mine, Sergeant Calkins. He paid for his first house using the VA home loan right after he got married.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then he must have, I don't know for sure, but he must have been like a Lance Corporal when he bought this place. And then when he left the unit, he sold it for a profit. And he got to start his new civilian life with a fat chunk of change.
Oh, yeah.
So that is a lowdown, a real quick lowdown on the VA home loan. If anyone who listens to this wants more information, look out for our Instagram pages, our TikToks, and we'll probably even touch on it more here.
We will do our best to provide you the information as clear, cut, and dry as possible. And we'll utilize our social media to do that the
Roll
best we
Tide,
can.
brother. Roll Tide.
Stop saying
I'm sorry.
That. He's saying that twice today, and I already don't want it to happen again.
Okay. So yeah, that is our veteran
Source.
/ active duty resource today. Mm-hmm. And the next point I would like to go into is how I shit myself. I mean,
are you wearing your brown pants?
No.
You would think the Marine, well,
Navy
no.
blue.
If the Marine Corps wanted you to have brown pants, they'd issue some.
Yeah, well, I'm not in that freaking. Would you like to suggest a question that could be used as a talking point? Don't worry, we'll edit this part out. How much time are we at?
We are at 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Oh my, we're killing it.
We
bro.
are killing it, dog. I think the next talking point.
I feel like mine was a really good one.
Yeah, no, that was a solid one. I guess my question for you. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to punch my mic. Hopefully that didn't get picked up. The question for you that I think would also like share some light for people who have questions is, what did you learn? What was the biggest thing you learned from your time in? Like, what is something you learned from the military other than your job?
Like an aspect or
like
an aspect or an attribute?
Yeah. Yeah. What did the military help you learn as a young adult?
That's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked it because I constantly have an answer to that question on the back of my mind at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to that is grit.
That's a good one, yeah.
Now, as I and my little tiny Marine brain understands it, grit is similar to perseverance, but being able to keep pushing despite how shitty circumstances can be.
Yeah.
And with that, there were a lot of situations, especially with my mortar boys, where we would just be in environments that were just god awful. And having that mental ability to kind of reset yourself and push anyway, and when I say that, I don't mean be miserable and continue working.
Yeah.
I mean having the power to reset your mindset and focus on the task at hand.
Yeah.
Especially when you see your brothers like resetting. They're like, you know what? I'm not going to let I'm not going to let 10 feet of snow or 120-degree weather like deter me. If I don't pull my weight, my brothers are going to have to pick up the slack. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
Being able to, no pun intended, grit your teeth and push through, no matter how hard it gets, is easily the best lesson I ever learned in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
And to give you kind of like an example as to what I mean by that, being a radio operator in a mortar platoon, as soon as you touch down to wherever it was you were going, nothing, and I mean nothing, works without communication,
Yeah.
without radio operating,
Any
especially in this case for a mortar platoon.
Yeah, any combat veteran that you will talk to, they will tell you that if it's not your medic that is the most important thing in your entire like system, it is your communications person. Cuz shit doesn't get done without without communications. Like Doc is there to plug holes. Communication overall can save an entire like platoon.
And yeah, and gosh, like I'm thinking back on it now, and it's like there would be moments where I would be so headstrong to make sure my boys had everything they needed that as soon as we touched down, I was picking up like antennas, like bagged big antennas, and throwing them out the back, and I would move at Mach 10. I'd jump out the back of that Humvee, like set up the antenna, put in the amplifiers, do communications checks, set up battery chargers. Like, I did not want to be the reason why my boys had to stay longer.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the reason why they were mission incapable. And that grit, that like, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get to the grit piece in a moment. Like, it was worth giving that to them.
Yeah.
Because there was multiple times where I would move so fast that when I was done, I would throw up. Because I was just going so quick.
Yeah.
So crazily fast because I didn't want to get blamed. I didn't want everyone to have their gun line set in, gun 2 ready to adjust, and they're like, "Well, we're waiting on Jamie to set up communications with the Hill." Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I wanted your communications is boom, up. We're waiting on you whenever you're ready.
Yep.
And like I said, there were multiple times, especially on deployment, where I slay myself so hard that I would throw up after.
See, the thing is though, is like that falls in the grit, but do you think that mindset wasn't I would say that the mindset that I don't want my guys staying longer. It translates into something bigger than that. I don't want my guys to ultimately fail when the time comes, especially in combat, because you know what failure in combat is. You're gone. You know, from my standpoint, the way I hear it is that you did your job to 130% because you cared about your men. That's the point right there. You cared about them because the lifeline in combat is communication. If you can't if you can't communicate to like to HQ and everything to get help, or if there is help needed, or for medevac, or for fire mission, or for air support, communication is key in all those.
Right.
You cared about your dudes. Of course, you know, out of combat, you're like, I don't want these dudes to fail, and then we get stuck here because then it'll be on me. But ultimately, that translates to, I want to be on my shit because I want to keep my dudes safe as possible.
Yeah, and another funny story about that. Okay, the way I learned to move that fast, and this is some advice I want to give to anyone that is listening, that is thinking about or in the beginning stages of joining the military. The absolute best thing you can do to secure your future is what my sergeant called making yourself a mission critical asset.
Yep.
Make sure that you're so hot shit. make sure that you're so good at your job, the platoon cannot function without you.
Yep.
That's not supposed to happen. It's really not. You could argue that if one person were to fail or not be there, then the whole mission falls apart is a bad thing.
Yeah.
In an ideal platoon, you wouldn't have that. But make yourself such a mission critical asset that if you're there, baby, smooth as butter.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Because
and
then you
that
won't,
was what I strive for.
yeah. Because it's team coherency, but on a smaller, the more minor notes, you can work and operate the way you need to do so because you don't have anybody questioning you. You know, when you're not hot shit, you're gonna get questioned.
Yeah.
Because dudes' lives are on the line, and you're kind of responsible for those lives. They're not gonna put you in charge if you're gonna get someone hurt. That's just plain and simple.
Right.
If you are going to join the military, you need to understand that if you're not a dedicated person and if you are not ready to take that responsibility, you might need to rethink that.
And here's a funny anecdote for any radio operators out there, especially the ones in the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
If the way I learned that my grunt boys, that they appreciated me, was they got a new radio operator when I went to weapons company, and I had a dozen or so of those sons of bitches come up to me and they said, "Man, we miss you." And I was like, "Why? Like, what's going on?" And they were like, "Jamie, you were so good, we never knew you were there."
Boom.
And for any radio operators that are listening, you know that is the ultimate compliment.
Oh yeah.
Like if your grunts, if your supporting unit if they just forget you're there, you're just that good. That is the biggest compliment. So that's kind of what I mean by having grit through making yourself a mission critical asset. And that grit is easily something I still carry with me today. Putting yourself into a performance mode despite the circumstances.
Yeah. No, I feel that for sure.
That was an incredibly long-winded and multi-anecdotal way of answering your question.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, go as deep as possible because, the more deeper you get, the more sense well, I won't say the more sense it makes, but like the more information that is there, the more understanding there can be.
But that is like, I cannot imagine that it would be any different with any MOS. And so last anecdotal story I'll say is I remember something a gunnery sergeant in my Marine Corps combat training platoon told me. She said, everywhere you go, look at the person who tells you what to do and do everything you can to take their job without buddy fucking them.
Yep.
Be so ruthlessly efficient. Be so much better at everyone at their job that you get picked. But don't screw your buddy over. And that's something I kind of took with me.
Yeah.
And it was like,
go
for the person above you's job. Make yourself unquestionable.
Yeah.
Take that, become so good at your job that no one can question you, and make yourself a mission critical asset.
Yep.
You follow those three things. If you're a young buck thinking about joining the military, any branch, I can't imagine it'd be different for any other kind of MOS.
No, like, it's practically that is an overall universal thing that is important for.
Strive to be the best and
yes,
make yourself mission critical without
hurting the
you're
people
going to
around
notice
you.
We harp on this a lot. Without fucking your buddy.
Yeah.
They call them Blue Falcons.
Do not. If there's another piece of advice that we can tell you, if for those who are listening that are not in there and who are not in the environment or are not in the military community, but you want to be a part of it, another big lesson we can tell you is do not fuck the people next to you. Do not fuck them over. You don't understand it now, maybe, but all the military is a giant team. No matter what MOS you go in, you're going to be working with other people. You want to be a solid teammate. When we say buddy fucker, we're talking about the dudes that are like all about themselves, care about nothing but themselves. You're gonna have to understand whether you're in combat or you're a grunt, you're a special operator. If you're a special operator, you're not going to go far if it's just about you. I hate to break it to you. I'm not in special operations, but they don't like people who are selfish. They just don't.
To give a really quick example on this, say you and your buddy are doing 2-man sprints with your squad, and you want to look better than the guy that you're racing, and let's say it's I don't know, 100-yard dash,
Mm-hmm.
and you notice that your buddy's shoe is untied, and you just don't tell him because it runs the possibility of making you look better.
Yeah.
That is a blue falcon.
Or
That's a very simple example.
but a more in-depth example is you know, oh, I had my train of thought and then I just lost it. Give me a second.
You could find like examples.
There's plenty of
every
examples.
MLS.
It's like you know, your teammate does something wrong or doesn't do something by the book because he just was so in the zone, was in the job, had his hands on the job, and then everything went smoothly, right? Everything still worked fine. He was so in the job that he was working off his knowledge because it happens sometimes.
Still successful.
The mission was still successful, but he was so in the zone that he just forgot to go by the rules a little bit. And then you go to your leadership and be like, yeah, he didn't do this, and this, without letting them know that you were also on that job and you also made mistakes. That is a blue falcon. That is a blue falcon. You are willing to put your teammates' necks on the line with repercussions without putting yourself in those positions too. I guess I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes
You're
sense,
willing to
but
sacrifice your teammates rather than yourself. That's what I'm trying to say.
right.
That is a blue falcon.
And to wrap up that point, just remember to answer your question for one.
Yeah.
Grit was easily the most important thing I learned during my almost 8 years in the military.
Yeah.
And the way that I did that was I strived to take the better guy's job without screwing him over.
Yep.
And just by being good and making myself a mission critical asset.
Yep.
You follow those, you're golden.
Yeah. You'll be a solid team member. They're gonna want to go places and they're gonna want to bring you because they can rely on you. That is the point. Be reliant. Be reliable. Or reliant. Sorry. Reliable. You know what I'm trying to say.
There, huh?
Be trustworthy. Let them trust you. That's the point.
Okay, we're belaboring the point a little bit.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
I am going to now reciprocate that question to you. What do you think is the most important thing you learned in the military?
I have a lot, to be honest.
If you had to narrow it down to one thing,
if it's one thing I would share today, it is learn where your people come from. And that was something that I learned on the outside too. That's like one of my dad's biggest lessons. It's like you could understand someone if you just take the time to learn where they come from, because people are different. Everyone is different. No one lives the same life. Now, there are those that you just can't help. There are those that are just willingly just on that path of self-destruction. Unfortunately. And it's up to you to realize that you cannot get dragged into their undertow and get drowned with them. They're everywhere. But there are dudes out there that strive to be great, but they just need that little push. And sometimes they're hard to deal with because they don't know how to be other than themselves. They don't know how to let somebody in. If you want to be a good leader, learn where your people come from. Get to know a little bit about them. Get to know what makes them tick. Get to know what they like and what they don't like. Learn from them. If you're wanting to be a good leader, you will always be willing to learn. You are not going to know everything the moment you get, I don't know, whenever you put on that stripe, that staff stripe. Because there are some dudes that get that staff stripe and they become an NCO for the first time and they're like, well, I don't have to do shit no more.
That
No,
was
dog, that is not the case.
there was so much of that in
Dude,
my first unit.
don't be that guy. Be willing to learn where your people come from, even as like a lower enlisted, like as an airman. When I tacked on senior airman at some point in my career before I left, I had to train the other A1Cs and airmen that came behind me. I had to train them to take my position because I'm not going to be there. Same with my other buddies that were in the same spot. If you learn where your people come from, you can learn how to teach them, because that is the ultimate goal. You need to be a teacher. So that's my biggest thing. That was one of my biggest things that I learned, is like, learn where your dudes come from.
Very well.
So
What time are we at?
ooh, solid. All right. So with all that being said, we are coming up towards the end of our very first episode of Emotional Support Veterans.
We're almost out of time today.
We're almost out of time today. So we're going to push on and we're going to talk about our hopes moving forward with this project. For me, it's mostly just like, I really hope we can build a community that everyone feels safe to be in. You know what I mean? Like, and that's civilian active military or veteran. We want an environment where you feel like everything's, well, when you understand that everything is okay. Ultimately, like, we're hoping to drive this as long as we can in a respectful manner, but also in a very, humorous manner. We want to be ourselves still. Another point on in my book is that we want to do our best to push veterans, period. Like veteran-owned companies, veteran-owned programs, or programs that are there to help you when you are at your lowest, or even when you're at your highest. We don't care. We want to push the community, because unfortunately, there are a lot of good institutes that are out there doing it, but we're not seeing a lot of notoriety. Unfortunately, we're not seeing the smaller ones getting the amount of attention that they should, and that's all we want to do. We want to make sure that we at least do our best to supply an even amount of notoriety across the board for everybody.
Yeah, and kind of it was, I don't know about you, but it was a gigantic struggle for me when I first separated.
Oh no, it was
Like-
for me too.
Like, being just ripped from that kind of culture and that environment. It really would have done me wonders to have someone or something that I could have like referred to as a way of like knowing that I wasn't alone,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And not just that, but letting veterans know and active duty know about the millions of opportunities and tools that they can use to become successful that they might not know about.
Yeah.
Like the VA home loan or LASIK, or how to use the GI Bill, or how
That is
to
a big
file a
one.
disability claim, different firms you can use to go through a disability claim, that
Or-
kind of thing.
Or even just like smaller things like how to function.
Yeah.
Because like the biggest thing that I learned coming out of active duty is how to function as a civilian. Because a lot of the times people won't tell you civilian life is drastically different than active duty life. It's slower, it's more muddy, and sometimes it just doesn't make damn sense. So
And in some scenarios, there's much less
Yeah.
understanding.
there's much less understanding for a lot of things.
But we'll get into all of that.
Absolutely.
This episode has been a little bit more serious than the kind of vibe we want to hit here, but I think that's because it's the introduction. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Oh God, please. I'm telling you right now. If you think that this is what this is going to be for the remainder of the time period, you are wrong. We were tamed today. We were being extremely tamed today.
Yeah, fair.
And because we told you, like, this is also gonna be like fun for us too. And we're friends from high school. So we were just being on a level of just, we want you to know what we're about. Next episode, please prepare your britches for something a little
man.
more
You're
wild.
directing the next one, aren't you? Oh, that is going to be.
Oh, yeah, buddy, I am.
Ugh. Another side note, I like to make our video shit the bed.
Yeah.
A little bit of the way through this, we were supposed to have video, so you can either edit out the part about Sergeant Bones, or we can keep it in.
Oh, no, Bones is staying in there no matter what.
Very well.
But understand that this one's only going to be audio platforms, because unfortunately, to tell you the truth, I don't know what happened, but we are aiming, what our goals are, we are aiming to be on the majority of audio platforms, but we also have a YouTube. We're setting up YouTube. We're going to be doing the podcast, but we're also going to be doing gaming, hopefully, in the future. And yeah, just overall having a good time. So keep your eyes out for that. For audio platforms. Oh, we also have social medias. We have a TikTok.
Yep.
We're planning on doing an Instagram as well at some point. At some point, I don't know when, but yeah, we're trying to hit all points of the spectrum.
All the wickets, yeah.
All the wickets. Is that what you said?
Wickets, yeah.
Well, okay.
Are you gonna go into the next point?
Yeah, sorry, my bad. So to finish off, I have one more question, and that is what is something that you wish someone would have told you before going in?
Something I kind of wish that I had known before joining?
Yeah, had known.
Oh, let me tell you. Oh, man. You see, as a youngin' that went to Veterans Day parades and Memorial Day, like celebrating America, I assumed as a child, an indoctrination of sorts, that everyone in the military was a good person. That is not the case.
Yeah.
There are a lot of some of the greatest people you'll ever meet are in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are straight up villains. And I'm not going to lie, my first 4 years, seeing just how many bad people were in the military, it messed with me a little bit.
That's a solid one, yeah.
And I wish I had known that instead of building it up to be this pinnacle, this paragon of what it is to be good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I feel like that would have better prepared me to deal with the ones that maybe aren't so good.
Yep.
Maybe do need to learn a little bit more. But that messed with my head during my first. And you could argue, of course, that that's my own fault, my own perception that got in the way of that. But yeah, that I definitely wish I had known that.
Yeah.
That not everyone's good. What about you?
Mine probably would have been to stay driven, but keep your expectations at a reasonable manner. Because when you're coming straight out of high school, you hear all the stories from the people around you, like, oh, I got to go see Venice, and then I went to Japan, and I got to do this, I got to do that, and you're like, as a young adult, you're like, man, I want to do that. I want to go and create stories. I wish they would have told me that a lot of the times that's not going to be the case. Keep your expectations at a reasonable amount. Prepare for the best, but expect the worst.
Oh, the amount of times I've heard that.
Oh, yeah. Because I can tell you right now, my first enlistment, I enlisted for 6 years. And you want to know where I spent 5 of those years?
New Mexico.
Albuquerque, fucking New Mexico.
Get shit on, kid.
I didn't go anywhere. And sometimes that happens, man. You have to roll with the punches. You have to expect that. It's not meant for everyone. And some people stick it out long enough to see their dreams come true. For me, it was one of those things where it's like, I was stuck there for 5 years. And then I was like, I tried everything I could to go somewhere else. And I couldn't go anywhere else. So I decided, it's probably just best for me to be with my family.
That's such an important thing.
Yeah.
Too, because so many of these young kids, myself included, granted, I got lucky. I did get to go places. Like so many of these kids, especially with my second unit, joined thinking they were going to see parts of the world that their families didn't have the means to see.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like seeing different places was a big part of it. Like having opportunities to go and prove yourself was part of it. And this is a really awful part about my second unit. Great people.
Yeah.
They just never got to deploy.
Yeah.
They never got to really do field ops. They were a supporting unit where I was a glorified teacher.
Yeah.
And
Now,
you really are going to have to go with the luck of the draw. It might not be what you bargained for. It might be more than what you bargained for in my case. But
and the other part about that is too, is like, I don't want that to weigh so heavy, because there are ways to get out of that loop. There are, like how you said, like being, like having that grit and just being so good at your job to where you're not questioned. That will open up doors of opportunity. That's why you have to stay driven. But there is going to be a point at some point in your career where you ask yourself, am I going to continue, or is this where I'm going to draw the line? Do I feel fulfilled? And that is a self battle that you have to take. For me in New Mexico, I did everything that I could. I tried. And everywhere I went, I was like, it's just not, it didn't work out. And for me, it came down to like perseverance. I didn't want to continue. I felt so beaten down, and I just made that option to come back home and just be with my family. But
happens to a lot of kids.
But after a year and a half, I still had that itch, and I was blessed enough to be able to go back in. And now I'm enjoying myself. You never know. You may have to take that moment. You may have to take that minute away, because you have a 2-year window. You have a 2-year after you finish your active duty contract. You are still technically a part of the government for 2 years. It's called inactive reserve. And that is there for, in case anything like pops off major and they need the bodies, they could call you right back. But what they also don't tell you is that if you're in that inactive window, you can work your way back into the system if you miss it and get it and try again. It's just up to you. It comes down to you and your mindset. So, yep. So other than that, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this hour and 40 minutes.
Some change, yeah.
Some change, man. We can talk. But on our way out, I just want to say a few things. One, thank you. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, we appreciate your patience. We appreciate your time.
Why are you still here?
Why are you still here? Something wrong with you. 2, we love you. Any kind of support that we can get, hopefully mostly positive support, we will take and we will live off of, and we will suck it dry. 3, we love you.
Call a buddy.
Yeah.
Even if you're
That's what
even if you're not in the military.
That's what I was gonna do. We love you. We're strangers, but every now and then, no matter if you wanna admit it or not, it feels good to have someone say we love you, and we mean it. If you stuck with us this long, thank you so much. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate your time, and hopefully we did what we set out to do, and we fulfilled our mission. And lastly, call a friend. Call a buddy, whether that is active duty, veteran, or civilian. It doesn't matter. Call your friends, call your family, check in on them. You never know, especially nowadays, you never know who needs someone to just call them and ask them, hey, how you doing? You'd probably be surprised when they tell you that they're not doing so well. In this day and age, we're seeing a lot of problems with self-harm and mental health, and not a lot of understanding. And 9 times out of 10, all they need is for someone to just listen, be that ear, be that friend, be that ally.
You'd be surprised what a simple call to a good friend of yours or a family member could do for someone that's just really going through it.
Yeah, man. So with that being said, we love you. We thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hug your mom, hug your dad, hug your family, hug your friends. And we will catch you next time on the next episode of Emotional Support Veterans.
Time to make like a lesbian and lickety split. No?
Oh God. All
Yeah.
right. Peace out.
I, I'm, yeah, my parents died before they could set boundaries